Hi, boys and girls. I am sitting in the sewing person's chair. I feel really glad to be away from my home because I have layers and layers of people worries and things that aren't finished, and I have books to write, and I have projects to work, and I have sheriffs to talk to, and I have rehab centers to visit. And right now, I'm just staying at a friend's house for a moment who's a supportive person that I've learned how to sew from. My mom taught me how to sew, but Deb helped me learn how to sew. And today, I've had so many things on my heart, so many things that I want to complete, so many things that I want to express. But there was one person on my Facebook, and I don't even know who the heck this person is. Her name is Jenny Smith. And she made this comment. Do you know does anybody know a really good written thing that would help a person, a woman or a man, think about the concept of abortion? And I sent her a note and I said, listen, I used to be in marketing and promotions. I used to be in corporate sales. And I used to avoid commercially printed pamphlets and tracts like the plague because I did not want my conscience messed with. And I didn't want somebody talking about God to me. Okay, there were actual spirits around me that didn't want me to even touch anything that might have to do something with God. So guess what? After I got my crash in, I started creating I'm into like graphic design, upper and lower case, really beautiful layouts, corporate logos, stuff like that. I started writing these little zines. Back in the punk days, we used to write little magazines to one another, to our friends, to figure out like where the next party was or what your favorite bands were and things like that. And over many, many years, I've written tons and tons of these little personal, funky little notes to a stranger because I know that if I found this on the floor of a bus, it looks like something that some kid wrote in high school to one of their friends. I would sit down and I would read through it all the way through, and I would actually read everything on the page because it's kind of like personal and sort of interesting. I would probably read it through once. Okay, so I work with rehab centers now, and in all of my life, in 62 years, nobody, no wonderful teacher, all the wonderful teachers I can think of, Smith Wigglesworth and Bill Johnson and all kinds of other wonderful people in the world that teach stuff about Jesus, God, church, and Bible. All of those people, I have never heard anyone say, remember, if you really want to connect with Jesus, you have to go home with a little group of families and individuals, and you have to be honest together and then take communion so you can look out for one another and your problems. And we all do things that we're sad about. And actually, God, the good Spirit, tells us and asks us to do things that take a lot of courage, like walking on water or talking to crazy family and relatives. And sometimes we need to have people with us to do those things. So I am really into promoting the family honesty communion group model of church. And that's another topic. But the main thing is I work with rehab centers where people are real. When we sit down in the rehab center, it's like, okay, what's your garbage? People put their stuff on the table. They talk about what they did in their lives. So you really know like how much they hurt and what they've been through and how much happier and more peaceful they feel. So one of the things that I do and have done for years is the tract writing workshop. And I call these ZINE, Z-I-N-E, which is short for magazine. Back in the punk days in San Francisco, before there was internet, before there was cell phones, there were racks in the clubs, in the music stores, in the clothing stores, and even in some of the junk shops and thrift shops. And you could actually write out your own little cool magazine and draw pictures and put in pictures and tell people when the next party at your house is. And you go to the copy machine and you make 20, 30 copies and you stick some of them at the club and you stick some of them at the clothing store and you stick some of them at the music store and people can find one. It's like, hey, look, these people are having a party next month on Saturday, the third Saturday. Let's go to their gig. And this is my way of communicating with ordinary Americans in a way that's kind and personal. So, like, here's another one of them. it's got a little church on it, and it says, "Church people are in great danger. Have great compassion. Lead the way for the blind and the unenlightened." This is one that I haven't finished yet. All right, now, especially for Jenny Smith, because she wants to have something to share with people, I actually folded up a brand new one. Here's how we do this. Really simple. Pause this thing. Get yourself an 8.5 11, and actually, it's good to start out with real nice heavy stock. If you hit a Staples store or something like that, have them pull some of their heavier stock out so you can write and do practice on it. So you take an 8.5 11 and you fold it down the skinny way. So you got 11 by like whatever 3 or whatever that is, whatever half of 8.5 11 is. So you fold it down that way, then you fold it this way, right? And then you fold the two ends back like this and like that. So when it's all folded down, it looks like an M or a W. And in the printing industry, they call this a Z fold because it's kind of like a Z zigzag. Okay? So you've got an 8.5 11, and it's folded in half, and then again, and then again. And what you end up getting is you get 16 little panels to write your stories on and draw little pictures on. So you got 8 panels on one side, and you got 8 panels on the other side. And then you fold it down into a nice little booklet, and you take a pencil and you put FC front cover on one side, and you put BC back cover on the other side, and those are your two covers. And when you're doing a cover, you can have something kind of bold on it. And usually, I haven't been doing too many pictures lately. Like, I like to do like sunrises and flowers. Like, you don't really have to do anything that fancy. But like, look at this one. That's very simple. It's just got a little flower on it, and it makes you want to smile and say, "What the heck is this thing?" And you pick it up and you look at it. Okay? So, first of all, you got front cover and back cover. Now, this is the most important thing. Open it up, and just like this one that's got the churchy church on it, this one is opened up. In the middle, on the inside, in the guts, on 2 of the panels, I write, this one says, "Sweet and powerful books and links." And this one says, "Super special, marvelous resources, books, web links." Inside this is where you write down your favorite books, your most interesting websites and links on the topic that you're working on. Like if you're trying to love somebody into either saving the child and giving it to a new family to raise it, or thinking about holding on to the child for yourself and having courage to be a parent, then you put really decent positive websites in, you put decent books in right here. So this is kind of the guts of your message. So you can link them to people that are even wiser than you. You're just being a door opener for people to think about things. And then the last panel right here, the last panel on the inside, you make a little thank you. And if you want to be courageous, you put your name in there and your phone number in there and your email address and your Facebook link, and you actually allow yourself to connect with people. If somebody reads everything that you write out and they really want to say, "Hey, who the heck are you? Thank you so much," you give them a chance to do that some way, maybe just by email. Use your discernment, discern the Holy Spirit on that. But, and I mean, sometimes I like to play games, and I'll put number 1 here, and then I'll flip it over and I'll put page number 2 here, and I'll write a story that goes through, maybe 10 or 12 pages after I've written the favorite books and links and a thank you. I'll actually fill all the other pages with a little picture. I'll write out, a personal disaster story. A lot of times when you tell your own personal sadness and something that you've been through, somebody's hearts will be touched a little bit more because you're being real. People love watching horror movies and soap operas and sitcoms because they're touched by other people's emotions. So that's it. That's the tract writing workshop. You can do it yourself. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science. Do it fun. Do it playful. Make a lot of them. And then go to the copy store and run off 40 or run off 200 of them and fold them down, and you have them in your pocket. Sometimes when you walk through the supermarket and you see somebody and you feel like, I wish I could do something for that person, and you might even be afraid to ask ask if you can pray for them. You go up to them and say, hey, I wrote something for you, or somebody that you know. Here's a little heart message from me. And they look at what you give them and you're like, oh, this is really cool. Thank you so much. You know, they don't even know what it is. And you can just keep moving if you're scared. I mean, there's a lot of like courage and timidity and building that we do as we interact with people. And sometimes, remember, Oswald Chambers wrote once, a written prayer, from your heart is sometimes the greatest type of writing in the world. Like you can write a little, hi God, I love you. And for whoever reads this, I hope that their whole life is filled with warmth and comfort and all the sadness is taken away right now. You can write a little prayer for someone. And I mean, you'll never know, like they may throw it in a drawer and find it like some 2 years later and say, hey, there's this little thing, and they start crying and they can feel heaven's connection. So this is one of the most important marketing and promotions things that I do with my life. And someday I need to collect all of my little zines and tracts and read them out loud for people. No, I'm not going to do that right now. I'll do that on another video. Thanks for watching. All the best. Woohoo!